There's a question most people never think to ask. Not when did the first war happen, not which civilization started it, but something stranger and more unsettling than that. Was there ever a time when war simply didn't exist? The answer is yes, and it's longer than you think. For roughly the first 200,000 years of human existence, the archaeological record is almost silent on organized violence. No mass graves, no fortified settlements, no weapons designed specifically to kill other humans. Anthropologists have combed through thousands of skeletal remains from this period, looking for the signatures of war, specific fracture patterns, embedded projectile points, trauma concentrated on the front of the skull from face-to-face combat, and mostly, they don't find them. This doesn't mean those people were peaceful in some idealized way. Interpersonal violence existed. One human killing another goes back at least 430,000 years. A skull from Atapuerca in Spain carries 2 overlapping blows to the same spot, the kind of pattern that happens when someone finishes what they started. But that's murder, that's not war. War is something different. War requires organization. It requires a group decision to send people out to kill another group. It requires the belief that those people over there are different enough from us to justify their deaths. And that belief, that specific belief, is surprisingly recent. The earliest solid evidence of organized group violence dates to around 10,000 years ago. A site called Nataruk in Kenya. Researchers found the remains of at least 27 people, men, women, children, killed in what appears to be a deliberate massacre. Bound wrists, blunt force trauma, obsidian blades embedded in skulls. No burial, left exactly where they fell. 10,000 years ago, not 200,000, not 100,000. So what changed? The answer that keeps coming up, no matter how many times researchers approach it from different angles, is one word: agriculture. Before farming, humans were mobile. If resources ran low, you moved. If another group was near your hunting ground, you gave them space or you traded with them. The land didn't belong to anyone because you couldn't hold it. You could only use it. Farming changed the logic of existence at the most fundamental level. When you plant a field, you're making a bet on a specific piece of ground. You're investing months of labor into soil you cannot take with you. You're building a storehouse, a surplus. And a surplus is something that can be taken. For the first time in human history, you had something worth killing for, and something worth dying to protect. Researchers comparing skeletal remains from hunter-gatherer populations versus early farming populations found a striking pattern. Mobile forager groups show violent trauma rates of around 2 to 3%. Early agricultural populations from the same regions show rates jumping to 10, sometimes 30%. The plow didn't just change how we ate, it changed how dangerous we became to each other. But agriculture alone doesn't explain everything, because farming created something else alongside surplus. It created hierarchy. Hunter-gatherer societies are remarkably flat. Status is fluid, leadership is temporary. If someone starts accumulating too much, the group pushes back. Anthropologists call this reverse dominance, the many keeping the powerful few in check. It's been documented in virtually every forager society ever studied. Farming dismantled that system. When one family controls the best land or owns the granary, hierarchy stops being temporary, it calcifies. And hierarchy creates conditions for war that egalitarian societies simply don't have. Because now you have leaders who benefit from conflict, chiefs and kings whose power grows with conquest, men who can send other men to die and absorb the rewards of victory without absorbing the risk. The first armies weren't volunteers. They were the inevitable product of a social structure that had stopped distributing power evenly. And then language made it worse. Humans are the only species capable of convincing strangers to die for an abstraction. A wolf pack fights over territory for immediate, tangible reasons. They can't be told that the enemy pack is cursed by the gods, or that dying in this particular fight guarantees reward in an afterlife. We can. And once we could, the scale of violence that became possible had no natural ceiling. The first wars weren't fought over food or water the way we imagine. They were fought over stories, over whose version of the world was correct, over who had the right to exist in a particular valley because of what their ancestors had been promised by forces no one had ever seen. That mechanism hasn't gone anywhere. It's the same one running behind almost every large-scale conflict in recorded human experience. So here's what the evidence actually shows. For most of our existence as a species, organized war wasn't part of the picture. The violence that existed was personal, individual, occasional. The shift happened roughly when we stopped moving, when we put roots in the ground and built walls around what grew there, when we invented the concept of mine and yours and ours and decided that the difference was worth blood. The bones at Nataruk are 10,000 years old. Agriculture in that region began around 10,000 years ago. The timing is not a coincidence, which means war isn't something deep in our nature that we've always struggled to suppress. It's something we built, something that came with a specific set of inventions: farming, ownership, hierarchy, and the ability to tell strangers a story compelling enough to make them pick up a weapon. We weren't always this violent. We made ourselves this way. And if we made it, the question worth sitting with is whether we can unmake it, not through wishful thinking, but through understanding exactly how it got here in the first place. The first war wasn't fought by monsters. It was fought by farmers who had something to lose. That's closer to home than most people want to admit.